Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to NS9 Live. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, we have Jim. We have we have Anthony Murphy. What's up, guys?
What's going on?
How's it going? Yeah, so Tyler's under the weather today. So we went to the bullpen, called up Anthony Murphy from Bucs On Deck. So I think a lot of people, most people probably know who you are, who watch / listen to us. But for those who don't, I mean, you want to do kind of a quick introduction of yourself?
Yeah, like you said, my name's Anthony. Most people probably know me by Murphy on Twitter. I have my own Substack, Bucs On Deck. We primarily cover the Pirates minor leaguer, do a little bit of draft coverage too, and just the Pirates in general. Previously wrote for Pirates Prospects too, kind of came over and now doing our own thing. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. A lot of minor league stuff happening recently. We had the international signing period open up. We had the Baseball America Top 100 prospect list drop. We had some other Top 100 prospect lists drop. We had Pipeline coming out with their positional top 10. So a lot of prospect focus stuff to discuss tonight. And yeah, who better to bring on to talk about that stuff than you? So I'll just throw this out there for you guys. If you all are not going to Bucs On Deck, like, you should. Great Substack. You guys do a lot of awesome work over there. If you really want to keep in touch with like what's going on in the Pirates minor league system and in prospects, like, you're not gonna find a better place to go to right now. So good stuff you all are doing over there.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Also, I didn't realize this was like wear your Marauders hat day. I've got this just kind of sitting.
Yeah, I get a couple of those. I do every year before the season. The last couple of years, I do like a vote on. I let people vote on which minor league hat I get, and this was the first year I did it on there. I've ended up with two different Marauders hat now. I guess those just ones are better than the others. So
yeah. No, so
Jim, you should.
Yeah, I guess we want to. Do we just want to go right into it?
We can. Yeah, let's do it.
There's
not a whole lot to talk about. No, I was just gonna say you should have wore it because little pre-show stuff. We had the same sweatshirt on today.
That's true. Yeah,
I had to change because that looked weird. But
yeah, I get on here. Gennaro's wearing the exact same hoodie as me. I think it was the exact, like, it's the white one, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's the exact same hoodie. So
I think we bought ours like at the same time.
It's a good hoodie. I will say that. Yeah.
So we could have been sporting the same hoodie. You two sporting the same hat.
Yeah.
It gets nice. Everything working together.
Yep.
Synergy, baby.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get into it because there's not a whole lot of fodder to talk about. We have so much news to talk. I mean, Pirates offseason is just booming right now. Where do we want to start?
Let's start with another pitcher going off the board. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. And another pitcher who the Pirates were supposedly in on, and he chooses another team not named the Pirates. Yariel Rodriguez, who we've talked about a few times on the show the past few weeks. From Cuba originally, pitched in the World Baseball Classic. Pitched out of the bullpen in Japan 2 years ago. Hasn't really pitched competitively in a while. Teams view him as somebody who could start, but a lot of teams kind of viewed him as a reliever. But the Pirates were one of the teams who looked at him as a starter. News today after a few days of hearing that the Blue Jays were the front runners. The Blue Jays are the winners, I guess, in the Yariel Rodriguez sweepstakes, and 4 years, $32 million deal, which seems very reasonable.
Yep.
Yeah. So a little bit of a bummer there. Just another guy off the board. Like they're just running out of names to go after now.
And I'm kind of interested because Jim and I have talked a little bit about him, even Tyler. And honestly, I mean, I can't offer any actual analysis. Like, I don't know what he is, right? But the way I look at it is there's a couple teams that view him as a starter. Pirates were one of them. Blue Jays obviously were one. Most tinted probably reliever. But, like you're talking about $8 million a year. I mean, hell, if he ends up being a reliever, probably could be a good reliever. You're right. $8 million for a reliever is not like totally egregious. I mean, you have relievers out there right now asking for more money than that. So it's like, as a fallback, he could be possibly a good reliever at $8 million. I'm not out here totally saying like this team totally missed and it's terrible they didn't sign him. I'm also not saying thank God they didn't sign him. But to me, it's just like another pitcher that the Pirates were linked to that spurned them. And so I don't know, like, you on here right now, do you have any insight? Do you have any thoughts on him as like what type of pitcher he is, or in general?
I mean, the only thing I've seen or anything was like just based off of like the World Baseball Classic, and that's if I read correctly, that's the last place he's actually pitched competitively. So I mean, I think this is more of a indication of just like where the Pirates are at in general, because like you think about it, like they miss out on a guy who hasn't pitched competitively in almost a year, and it was for like a tournament or something like that, and we're upset because the Pirates missed out on that. Really, they shouldn't be in a position to where like this is any kind of news at all. Like, okay, we lost out on the guy. He's probably a reliever and he hasn't pitched in over a year. So that it shouldn't really be as big a deal as it is, but we are where we are, and it's a big deal kind of thing.
That's a good point. It's almost like they put a lot of eggs in this basket, right? Like they were kind of thinking in the back of their minds, oh, well, if we can't get Jack Flaherty on a 1-year deal, if we can't get Seth Lugo on a 1-year deal, like these other guys who have gone to other teams who were certainly, within their range, right? Like kind of right in their wheelhouse. They were like, well, at least there's Yariel Rodriguez. We can probably give him what he wants. We can offer him a starting job, where a lot of other teams can't do that. And yeah, I think more of this just, it's not frustrating that the Pirates didn't land Yariel Rodriguez. I think it's frustrating that it's just yet another player who fits a need that this team has, who, once we see this deal, 4 years, $32 million, extremely reasonable. Like, if he turns into a starting pitcher, then it's a steal. If it's a reliever, then it's like, yeah, he's probably an expensive reliever for a team like the Pirates, but like you can live with that. You can live with an $8 million a year reliever as long as he's somewhat effective. And if he's not effective, you can dump him if you absolutely have to. I think it's just kind of like what he represents. He just represents another pitcher who picked another team. And it just goes back to, you had 2 players on the Pirates this year. Leave them when they need pitching to go to Japan. You had another pitcher who chose to take a minor league deal with the Tampa Bay Rays instead of signing a major league deal with another team. I don't know if the Pirates were one of them, but this is just an example. And then you've got Imanaga, who the Pirates were supposedly in on, made a competitive offer, chooses another team. And now here's just another pitcher Pirates are linked to, and they can't land him. It's just like, can we just close one deal here, guys? Like, just one. Give us something.
Yeah, it's got to be frustrating at this point, but like I said, I don't. They need pitching, and I feel like they need a couple more pitchers to bring into camp at this point. But it's like, man, it's frustrating that we have to get upset over a guy like this, losing out on him, a guy that's potentially. It's frustrating, but like, I mean, that's where we're at.
Like, he's a swing guy. Like, he's a guy who on a good team is a sixth starter. Yeah, exactly.
He's a guy that realistically the Pirates in the small market kind of, whatever like that, they really shouldn't be needing to take the kind of risk on it. Like, because like, I mean, $8 million isn't much on there, but like I don't know. I just feel like this shouldn't be something that we're worked up on, but we are.
Yeah.
And now,
and I think it's fair to say
how the rotation works out from here.
Right. Yeah. But I think it's fair to say that most people, okay, you can't speak to everyone because you see Twitter, there's every type of viewpoint imaginable. Some are very, very awful. Some are smart and intelligent. But I think for the most part, like, people aren't mad at like the deal itself, kind of like we're alluding to here. It's not so much that like he himself didn't sign, the Pirates missed out on him. it's more or less like it's another one that's gone. There's not much left. Like it was almost like he was the last hope of somewhat decent pitcher that the Pirates could have landed. And now that's gone. And you're looking now at the list and you're like, trade market now. Like what's left? Paxton, I guess.
Yeah.
And after Paxton, like what's really left? And if Paxton's your last complete hope of anything on the free agent market, in that aspect, I mean, is that even plausible? I don't know. But now it's looking at, like the trade. And I guess where I'm at on this also is this puts the Pirates in a really, really bad situation in the sense of you could just simply use financial capital to make your team better, right? Just use money. Just use the cash that you've been piling up, give it to a player, and then make your team better. And now they missed out on all of that and all the prospect capital they've been working so hard and tirelessly to acquire over the past 4 or 5 years. They have to now use to just hopefully become a respectable team. Like they could have, like you said, like they probably need about 2 pitchers. You know what? You go and get Rodriguez, and then you make a trade, and like maybe that trade is what puts you over the top. But now it's like they have to make a trade just to hope to be in the game. And like you have to use prospects to do that. And that's just, it's not a great usage of like your assets.
Yeah, I saw Pat Lackey on Twitter, mentioned earlier today that he's, and this is just him speculating, but it's almost like we're about to panic trade Termarr Johnson. Like we're gonna make ourselves panic so much about this season that we have to do something, and we're gonna do something stupid, right? Maybe overpay for somebody with like our only hitting prospect that we have. So, yeah, it's frustrating because prospects are there to not only develop but also be used for trades and making your major league team better. But the Pirates still have a lot of work to do, and I'm not quite sure if trading their prospects right now, like if you're going to go all in, but like don't just half-ass this thing where like you trade your best hitter for a pitcher who's going to make you a 79 win club. Like, is that really a smart thing to do? Just like trade your best prospects so you go from a 75 win team to a 79 win team. Probably not smart, but like you mentioned, if they had made some better moves before this and made themselves like a competitive ball club at this point, and then you can say, all right, you know what, we need this one more guy, or we need these 2 more pieces, and that's where you can go and make a splash. I don't know if making a splash is a good idea right now. Like I think right now you just need to go and find somebody to fill out your rotation. I really don't know if making a splash is the best thing to do right now. Unless they want to make multiple splashes.
Yeah. I feel like realistically, you're probably still a couple years away from being in position to make one of those. We're all in. Let's take what prospects we have and shove it in here. And the frustrating part with it is when you think about it, the idea, part of the idea behind like rebuilding and having all your prospects up there is because it creates that small little window to where your better players are really cheap. You have all these guys pre-arbitration and early stages of arbitration. So going out there and grabbing a guy, you should be in a position right now to overspend on somebody just for a year or two. Like I know everyone wants like to sign a pitcher for a couple of years, do a multi-year deal. I'm okay with a 1-year deal, and let's just throw in a couple extra million at the end of it. I mean, we have, what financial obligations really do they have right now that Exactly. They can't just go out there and let's just do like, okay, let's chip away year by year. And then in a couple of years when we feel we're really right there, let's swing for the fences. Let's package a bunch of these guys that we have built up and then go get that guy on there. But
yeah, I think that's what kind of made me gravitate a lot towards, like Stroman and Lugo and guys like that, mm-hmm. where, Stroman signed a 2-year deal, Lugo signed a 3-year deal. These guys who can help you out right now, and you don't have to commit a whole lot to them, and you have the room in the budget because, like you said, yeah. so much of this roster is getting paid peanuts right now. So this payroll still isn't over $70 million. Like and they're
So sad.
telling us they want to be a playoff team, and it's be serious, you guys. Like
Yeah.
let's do something.
They
But
want
also
to be
think
a
about this,
playoff
like
team,
you're talking
but
about
like,
the contracts. Oh, sorry.
oh, no, I
Okay.
was saying they say they want to be a playoff team, but like realistically, like I wrote this before on the website. Like I kind of feel they're lucky to get to the amount of wins that they did last year. Just with the injuries, and you have 2 actual starting pitchers by the end of the year and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like if you probably replay that season, they don't get to the wins that they get to last year with the injuries and that kind of stuff. So like really you're playing from behind because like you lucked into some wins there, and it just like they were here, they need to get there, and like they're not actually moving to where they need to even make up for the luck, if you want to call it, last year.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you said too. Like where they stood at the very last day of the season thinking about 2024, they're worse than that because you lost Oviedo and you lost Endy. Like those were in your plans. Those were the people that were going to make you better. And now you lost that. So you got to replace them just to get to the baseline and then improve upon that. But what I was going to say is like, you were talking about the contracts and the control and such. And like, I mean, how many times have we talked about that? Like not only was Brian Hayes signed so cheap, but the way that thing was structured, like you have so much more room to like he's making $7 or $8 million. Like that allows you to spend more money right now. Like here, like you're talking about, like here's the window. Like all these guys are cheap. You can throw some cash, front load something, right? Do something, get creative. And it's like that's what the Pirates just always miss out on is like creativity. They're just like the most boring, uncreative team that like ever existed. And here we are.
Yep. I think we're all in agreement here. Yeah. I mean, we've talked a lot about this. Like I said, there's still some guys out there. You've got the 2 kind of main starters still available, Jordan Montgomery, Blake Snell. I don't think the Pirates are going to be making a play on those guys just based off of what we've seen this offseason. But then you look at like that next tier, and you're kind of looking at like Michael Lorenzen. You're looking at who else? Who else am I missing? Michael Lorenzen, Zach Greinke, James Paxton. Like those are the type of names that you're now looking at. And yeah, like Paxton and I think Lorenzen could be useful, but there's gonna be a lot of people too that are like, there's not a lot left, and there's teams out there that are still looking for starting pitching. Like you still have to compete against some of their teams.
Yeah.
And I guess where I'm at too is like, I don't mind Paxton, I don't mind Lorenzen, I guess it's where I'm at though, is you got those guys already. Like that's what Perez represented. That's what Marco Gonzalez represented. You got the riskier guys who could turn into something. What you're missing out on is the dude. And you don't have that. And you still just have a ton of risk. Now, again, like Perez throwing, again, not doctors, but that sounds and sees like to be a good sign that he's throwing right now and as hard as he is. So maybe the health is there. The risk is maybe mitigated a little bit, but like there's just a ton of risk outside of Mitch Keller, this entire 8, 9, 10 man, if you want to call it rotation, right? There's bodies, but like just so much risk. And there's no one to come in here and say, you know what, at least there's 2 guys in this bull or rotation that you can certainly count on. Perez, I guess, represents that. Okay. So there's two that I'm comfortable going into the season with that they can last. Outside of that, I'm not comfortable that anybody can last.
I mean, we're banking on a lot of we're hoping people revert back to 2022 kind of seasons and stuff like that. And yeah, even the guys that I feel like a lot of people think we can count on. I mean, can we?
Yeah.
So I think they're at a quantity over quality thing right now. They're just hoping that we have so many people that we'll be able to just throw stuff around and we'll find something eventually. So
yeah, I mean, hopefully with what they've got, and if they can make one more addition, like Nola says here, like they are going to be getting some reinforcements like midpoint of the year, so you will have Brubaker You will have Burrows, and you'll hopefully have some other prospects. Like hopefully Jones is ready by that time, and you can get something out of him. I'm not really. I think a lot of people are like saying Skenes. I'm not really counting Skenes to do anything this year. I would be pleasantly surprised if Paul Skenes is starting games for the Pirates in like this summer. I hope I'm wrong there. Hopefully he just comes out and he just shoves, and he proves that he's ready, and he kind of forces the Pirates to make that decision to bring him up. But that's moving a pitcher pretty fast. I mean, he's what, like 10 minor league innings right now.
6 2/3.
Yeah, not
I
even.
think it was 6. Yeah, I think it's 6 and 6 2/3. Like you can very debate on how on the quality of those innings too on there, but that's a whole nother rabbit hole we can go down.
We'll talk about that a little bit when we get to the top 10 list, maybe. But I mean, I guess anything else we want to add here before we kind of move on to the next topic?
I don't think so. Not really.
All right.
I think it's time we can move on to the international signings.
Let's do that. Before we do that, quick read from our sponsor. Today's show is sponsored by Chris Gates Fitness. Chris is a friend of the show, and he's an online fitness coach from Pittsburgh. In addition to being a massive Pittsburgh sports fan, he works with people all over town and all over the world to build muscle, burn fat, and improve their health and fitness. In fact, Chris and I work together, and I've been able to make some pretty impressive transformations just in the last year. Lost about 40 pounds last year, thanks to Chris's help, and hoping to do more this year. So still working with him. If you're interested in jumpstarting your fitness journey, make sure you're on Chris's mailing list. When you sign up, you'll get a free 21-day training program, a free guide to sustainable dieting, and a free high protein, low calorie tailgating cookbook. With those freebies, you'll be able to figure out the best and most sustainable way to manage your diet and exercise plan. Visit chrisgatesfitness.com/newsletter to sign up. He will also send out free content every single week to his mailing list, whether it be new articles, YouTube videos, podcast episodes, and more. Again, that's chrisgatesfitness.com/newsletter to sign up.
Boom. I'm interested in the tailgating cookbook.
Yeah, tailgating cookbook. I could use one of those.
Yes.
I guess I have it, and I just haven't even opened. I need to use it. I need to open that thing up and see what's in it. It's a free perk I'm getting, and then
Jim's like, wait a minute.
I need to use that tailgating cookbook.
Oh, what a loser.
Anyways, when we come to PNC Park for a tailgate this year, we'll use the tailgating cookbook.
I like it.
Yeah.
So let's get down to this. So we had an international signing day. Pirates signed 17 players. You know what? Like, Anthony, we bring you on. You're the guru. This is your wheelhouse, right? Again, like we talked about with Rodriguez, like we know nothing about these guys, right? We know what Baseball America has told us what we should know, which is what everyone else knows right now at this point as well, right? So like maybe give us a little bit of insight. Like, what do you think about this draft class? Overall thoughts? International signing class.
Not a draft class.
The biggest thing with the international class is like these are 16, 17-year-old kids and stuff like that. My expectations, what any opinions or anything that I do, I try my best to hold off on them until they hit at least the complex league, because I mean there's so much that can go on down there. You get in the Dominican League, there's some like 19, 20-year-olds that are playing there, so they'll put up better numbers than others. Some kids are just more physically mature and stuff like that. So, but
next thing you know, you'll be putting Axial Plaz in future lineups.
Yeah. Or Alexander
Mojica.
He was supposed to be like on the bench. Yeah, bench. He was supposed to be like a bench player already. But I mean, so far from the little bit of information I've been able to gather, I mean, there's some interesting kids out there. Obviously, like the two big ones was the like Brazoban and Feliz. There's a pitcher, Erwin Ramirez, that I read a little bit on there, already hitting like mid-90s with the fastball throws a curveball, slider. He got about $500,000 to sign. So 6'4". So already like a pretty good frame and stuff like that. I've actually haven't been able to find his age yet. So I mean, if it's 6'4", mid-90s, I would venture maybe he's closer to like a 18-year-old type of signing, kind of like Luis Ortiz kind of thing. So that'll be someone interesting maybe that wasn't initially talked about to watch. The Chandro Trump, he from Curacao. He actually played in the Little League World Series and the senior baseball World Series. There are actually a couple of clips of him on Twitter, him hitting a home run. So I mean, it's hard to judge like a swing from someone from like when he was like 14, 15 already, right. But like, okay, well, it's cool. We got to see a kid they just signed hit a home run. So, but I mean, we'll see how they kind of turn out on there. Pirates have been fairly aggressive this side of things on here, so a couple interesting names to follow the next couple of years.
Yeah, it sounds like they've. I mean, first off, they have a good sized pool, 7.1 million and some change. I believe them and 5 other teams have like the highest bonus pool allotment. So they've got a good amount of money to kind of spread around here. And looking at the list so far, I'm not seeing signing bonuses for Brazoban or Feliz necessarily, but I mean, we're seeing 1, 2. I mean, there's a handful of guys already receiving 6-figure signing bonuses. So you gotta at least assume that they like those guys if they're giving away, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some pretty good names on this list too.
Yes,
like, just like it's like an all-name international
A+ for names.
Yeah, I mean, Iverson, Allen. That's awesome. That's a pretty
6 foot 160.
Yeah.
If he's not wearing number 3, I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, he has to.
Are you aware? Are you aware of your name and what you represent?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to imagine, like, if your last name's Allen and your first name is Iverson, like, your parents had to name you after Allen Iverson, right? Like, that's not a coincidence.
No.
Yeah, like, there's no way.
I
so
agree, baby.
Yeah, so that's a pretty cool name. Yeah, just how
about Sammy Sosa's nephew?
Sammy Sosa's nephew. Yeah.
He got 100,000, I think it was.
Yep. But yes, it's a good mix of pitchers on here. Hopefully Brazoban seems like he's kind of the cream of the crop from like a scouting standpoint at this moment in time. But like you said, like, these guys are so young, anything could happen between now and the next couple of years. But he's ranked 12th right now by Baseball America. But they also don't rank. Yeah, they rank by bonuses. 38th on Pipeline. I think Perfect Game had Brazoban like 2nd or something like that too, though, in their rankings when I was doing a little bit of research. So he's a pretty highly touted guy. Outfielder in the Pirates.
Seems interesting.
Yeah, and based off of just the Pirates outfield situation in the minors, you want to stock up on some outfielders right now. So. Yeah, I mean, signing period. Are we still expecting some other signings here? I know someone asked a question earlier. Is there like a Jun-Suk Shim type signing that's still kind of on the horizon that you're hearing about? Maybe that these are all Latin American players for the most part, Caribbean, but we've seen them be pretty active in the Asian markets here the last few years.
Yeah, I feel like usually, I don't know if this is like how technically accurate it is, but from what I've noticed, like usually when they start dipping into like the Asian market and whatnot like that, it's a little bit closer to when the season starts and stuff. Like, I know like the Shin thing wasn't like something that happened like day one in there. So, I mean, like you said, the Pirates have been really aggressive out there. They've done really good out that way. So if they grab another player or two, wouldn't surprise me at all. I haven't heard anything as far as that, but it wouldn't surprise me if they do end up out there again.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their top prospect list, and just if you want to look at some of their best international signings of late, Zhangzi Shang and Shim are your two your two best guys that you signed. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely something to talk about, something to look forward to. Keep an eye on it. There's still plenty of bonus pool space available. The signing period basically lasts all year. It's till like December 15th or something like that. So yeah. So they've got a lot of time to sign people, spread that money around. But this also kind of, I opened up, I think this, DK talked about it on his Daily Shot yesterday. And then I was like, you know what? I don't remember the Pirates doing very well with these international guys lately. And so I went through and just looked at every class and I picked 2010 out of the blue. Some people might say, oh, you picked 2010 because that's the year after Polanco. No, I just picked a random number, a nice, easy, clean number. So from 2010 on, the Pittsburgh Pirates have been terrible in the international market. Now, like, their best signing from that period was Harold Ramirez, who was traded in Double-A. So the Pirates never even got anything out of him. And let's be real, Harold Ramirez is okay, but like he's like a career 2-WAR player. So that's the most production that the Pirates have gotten out of hundreds of guys that they've signed during the international signing period over the last 14 years. So I don't know. Like, it's kind of one of those things where these guys are very volatile prospects because you're signing them at 16 years old a lot of times, and you just have no idea what kids are going to turn into at 16. But like when you sign 200 guys, you'd like to hit on one, maybe two, like anything here. The most production the Pirates have gotten out of one of the Pirates have gotten out of somebody was Osvaldo Bido. So if you're curious, like Osvaldo Bido is the most successful Pirate from all international signings over the last 14 years.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on here? What's going on?
I mean, I guess the first thing that we should say with this, like, I remember John Drecker, and he's one of the best when it comes to international and stuff like that. He had written a really good article on Pirates prospects about just how much of a crapshoot international signing is, and like odds are you're going to fail most of the time when signing these kids more than that. But then also, like you said, when you sign upwards of like 200 kids and stuff like that, you would kind of hope more you're getting more than what you got out of that. You know, you don't want Bido being your number one producer.
But Osvaldo Bido is like the crown jewel of the 2010s.
And now the A's get him. Son of a B.
Yeah, see, look, that's how well they did. Now, other teams are fighting over signing him for a major. He got a major league deal with them. Like that's awesome.
That's true.
Success.
That's true. That is true. But yeah, I mean, and the jury's still out. So, I mean, while we're kind of on the topic, right, no one from the 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, like those classes, they have yet to debut. So, who are you still pretty excited on and high on as far as these international signings who are in the current system? I mean, like we mentioned, Zhang Zicheng was added to the 40-man this offseason. He was a 2019 signing. 2020, Shalin Polanco was the second highest bonus the Pirates have ever given out to one of these kids. He just finished up his first season of full season ball with Bradenton. Yordani De Los Santos, another guy, and then Shim, who we've talked about. But I mean, kind of give us a rundown as far as like these international prospects who are currently in the system who, can maybe turn this thing around for the Pirates.
Speaking of like Polanco, he was maybe one of the funnest players to watch last year until he got hurt. Like, really good defensively, can play all three positions in the outfield. Was gonna kind of push towards maybe a 2020 season had he been able to stay healthy. So he has a lot of power, a lot of speed, and just really needed to work on the contact. A lot of strikeouts. He'd started to get them under control as he when he got hurt. So it'll be interesting to see going into next year to see if he's kind of solve those kind of issues and stuff like that. Still young. I could still see a scenario where you start him in Bradenton again, just to where he kind of missed the last couple of months of the season. And then maybe like a month or two in, you send him up to Greensboro. At this point, with how Greensboro's kind of treated the hitters and pitchers, I'd kind of prefer if the least amount of time he can spend there, the better for him. So he was one that really stood out to me last year, is just excitement wise. Chang, you talk about Chang getting added to the 40-man roster. Speed guy, not much power. I think he's kind of the example thing for as far as like, what Greensboro can do. And I think he hit right at close to double digits in home runs there before he got called up, and I don't think he's hit that many home runs like any other year combined.
Yeah,
so,
he hit 9 in 57 games.
Yeah. So I mean, he's good fielder. He kind of seems like, I mean, I guess it depends. Like I could see him settling in as like a really good utility guy on a major league roster. Maybe not a guy that's going to play every day, but he can play both middle infield positions. He's really good defensively. And the speed plays. I've seen him turn a lot of singles into doubles and a few doubles into triples. So, and then one guy that's been getting talked about a lot this offseason is Shim. We only got to see he only pitched like 8 innings in the complex league last year. His first game, I don't know how many innings he pitched, but he was perfect. He didn't allow a hit or a walk or anything like that. And what is it? Just Baseball. They just had released like their rankings, and they had him 6th on it. So,
I saw that.
That
was wild. That was wild. Yeah.
Like I can from the couple people that I've talked to that have seen him pitch, like I get it. It's way too early for me to kind of do that, but like the stuff is really, really there to be a special pitcher. So, and like I think Baseball America has him on like a short list of guys who can like break out this year as well for the Pirates. So, I mean, just a lot of guys, a lot of question marks, but I mean that's kind of what you get with the young international guys. It's all projections and tools and what they could be, and it's kind of on the Pirates to make them realize all that stuff. So
yeah. Yordani De Los Santos, probably the guy I like a lot, just from the pretty good batted ball data, hits the ball hard, definitely needs to work on the strikeouts. But I think you could probably say that about everybody who played for Bradenton last year. Just kind of and we've talked about this a lot, just on Twitter, going back and forth. Like, is this an organizational philosophy? Is this something where are they just finding people who can't make contact, or are they just working on things that are specifically against making contact at this point?
It kind of what it feels like too is like, okay, we're gonna get the guys who we can hit the ball really hard, because you almost can't teach that, and then we're gonna teach them how to hit, and then it's debatable on whether or not they've actually been able to
are you sure about
actually
that?
teach them how to do it. But that's what it seems like the philosophy is, because you have a lot of guys who could hit the ball really hard. Lonnie White Jr. can destroy baseball, but then like he had like a 75% in zone contact rate. So yeah,
even somebody like Termarr, who comes into the system with a ridiculous hit tool, just it disappears.
Well, like my thought on, and then you could say a lot of things with Termarr too, like maybe he was selling out for power, and the way that I look at it is you can write up all these scouting reports, and I think I saw like Wade Boggs and Vlad. He was like a mix between Wade Boggs and Vlad Guerrero, and that's just at the end of the day, he was playing pro ball at 18 years old. Like, I'm going to approach it like any other 18-year-old baseball, prep kid that's playing single A baseball, eventually like high A. I mean, his chase rates were, he did not chase, like his chase rate was under 20%. Like that's insane. That's better than like I think almost every other major league ball player. So he doesn't chase out of the zone. He just has to learn how to, I don't know, pick, just recognize and get comfort. There's a comfort thing. And like, you can kind of feel like I went to see him at the end of the season last year, and there's kind of like just a lot of frustration there at the end of the year, because like you could tell things maybe weren't going exactly the way he wanted to go, and maybe he was trying to overswing sometimes. And I think his first year in 2022, right at the end of the season, there were a lot of at bats to where he literally would swing out of his shoes. Like he would swing and he'd spin around and hit the ground. So he just let him get comfortable, let him kind of adjust and see what's good. The guy was it's very rare for any teenager to draw 100 walks in the season, and he was one of them to do it.
Yeah.
So it's there, but it's just he's a teenager. And I think at the end of the day, put the scouting reports aside and just kind of remember that he's an 18, 19-year-old playing in a league to where not many 18, 19-year-olds are playing.
I think when he connects, it looks really good.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He hit one. I think it was like 470 feet in Bradenton, at 115 miles an hour, something along those lines off the bat. Like he destroyed. When he gets a hold of it, it's fun to watch.
So I guess, and again, like this isn't to comp them. I mean, like preferences. This isn't to comp them. But I think the concerns are, again, we talk about the Pirates of development and the contact. And there was a player who had not a very similar skill set, but you knew he was going to hit for contact, possibly a batting average title, right? And that was Nick Gonzalez. And he comes into the Pirates organization, and you see like a total change. Like he's kind of selling out a little bit for power now. The average is down, a little swing and miss. And then again, Termarr now follows in those footsteps per se. You hear the bat, he comes in, strikeouts kind of out the roof, the contact rates drop, power is there. So I guess what I'm trying to say is you're kind of pressing pause on this, right? Like everyone just kind of chill. Like even though you saw Nick Gonzalez, it's a whole different case. Because that's the thing too. Like Nick Gonzalez he was older, right? He was more mature. He's not a teenager. These things. So I guess what you're trying to say is like just kind of press pause, be patient. He's still just a kid. Let him mature. Let him grow. Wait until he develops. Then kind of worry. Press that panic button a little.
Yeah. And that kind of makes me think of like when I was down in Greensboro, I talked to Thomas Harrington, and he mentioned something about like from his time from Bradenton to Greensboro, kind of adjusting the way that he pitched and kind of learning what works for him and what doesn't work for him. And you can kind of take that with Termarr too, because he has this elite chase rate, and he doesn't swing at bad pitches, but he also can hit a ball 470 feet and stuff like that. He's learning what kind of professional ball player he is right now, and he's doing it in a league that's very advanced for where he's at. And so he's just, at this point, he's just trying to figure out where he fits as far as being a pro ball player. And that's going to involve some, struggles here and there and stuff like that. But the hope is by the time he gets to the majors, he's figured it out and he knows what he is, and he can use that on the field to help the Pirates.
How the hell does he hit a ball that hard and that far?
The dude has some
I'll say, like, take all that
swing.
stuff we just talked about away. It's just like seeing him do this also just, that's what wows you.
Yeah.
It is impressive, with his age and his frame, like what he's able to do to a baseball. Yeah, I mean, I saw him in person. I was impressed with him. He drew some walks. He hit a bomb. So like I saw kind of the whole thing. It was a pretty good sampling of him. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm down on him. I think there's definitely some red flags. Like the strikeouts is a red flag. But at the same time, you can clearly see the talent. Like it's not a talent issue at this point. It's just like how do we make this thing work? What kind of baseball player, like you said, what kind of baseball player do we want Termarr Johnson to be? Because right now he looks like he's going to be a major leaguer. It's just, do we want him to hit 30 homers and hit 240? Or do we want him to hit 290 and hit 10 homers, right? Because I think he's probably capable of doing either. It's just kind of depending on like what do we want to do? Where do we want to go from here? So I'm curious to see how this year goes. I would imagine they send him back to Greensboro to start the year, but hopefully, we see him in Altoona pretty quickly. But yeah, the dude's impressive.
Yeah.
Coming here, 125 pounds of pure muscle, which is funny because he's probably about 125 pounds.
Yeah. So speaking of Termarr,
he's a little thick, maybe 135.
So speaking of Termarr, Baseball America's top 100 prospect list came out today. He came in at number 77, which is down from where he was at this point last year. Still well within top prospect status. If you compare him to the guys who were around him in the draft, Drew Jones, Elijah Green, guys like that, he's outperforming those guys right now. So he slots in at 77, but Jared Jones comes in at 74. The stuff's incredible. I don't know how much it's going to hold up in the majors. There's definitely some relief concerns there, but I expect to see Jared Jones at some point this year. I was even clamoring for him last year when they just needed somebody to pitch towards the end of the year. I was like, just let Jared Jones go out there and give it a shot. But they didn't do that. He'll probably start the year in Indy again. But I mean, I fully expect to see Jared Jones at some point in 2024.
Yeah. I mean, the stuff is there. I think it depends on what kind of role he settles into. Like you said, I think there's some reliever risk, and I will say, like I saw him pitch last year in Richmond, and he took a no-hitter into the seventh. Like the stuff is very good, really good. Like, but it's just can it hold up over 150, 180 innings over a major league season, 5-6 innings a night. Did notice in some games the velocity does kind of dip towards the end of his outings. The stuff isn't as crisp. I mean, he's 22. He's still learning and stuff like that. But
yeah, I will say this:
he's the kind of guy I wouldn't mind throwing in the bullpen right now and just kind of letting go.
Yeah.
Just let him go. I mean, we saw in spring training last year, right? He was hitting like 99, 100 out of in the game against the Yankees in spring training. So, I mean, the stuff's electric.
Developing the bullpen, get the rotation later.
Yeah, I think he could just be an elite reliever right now. I think as long as there's starter potential, you still got to at least give it a shot. And
he's still 22.
Yeah, super young. And yeah, like he hasn't had to face like 150, 160 inning, season yet, but he is coming off back-to-back years of 120 plus, at ages 20 and 21. So, when he does get here, he shouldn't really have to be on any sort of pitch limit or innings limit. Like, he's pretty much built up to where you want a major league starter to be right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him at some point this year. Like I said, the stuff's electric. The strikeout rates are great. You can get a little bit wild at times, but overall, just really, really good stuff from Jared Jones. He slots in at that list 74. Bubba Chandler coming in at 59. Baseball America has him a little bit higher than some other places I've seen. I love Bubba Chandler. He's my dude. I think the upside there is just incredible. I think me and you kind of agree on that. Like Paul Skenes deserves to be the number one pitching prospect in baseball, but like I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that Bubba Chandler ends up being the better pitcher. Like, I think that's possible.
Yeah. I would say I got destroyed pretty hard in the Bucs On Deck comment section for making that exact comment.
Whoa.
Yeah,
I know what I said. Yeah.
No, he said. I've seen a lot of the Pirates' top pitching prospects over the last couple of seasons, and he was by far the most electric pitcher I've seen. And I've seen, we're talking like Luis Ortiz, like the year he came up and blew everyone away. Saw Mike Burrows. I've seen Veronzi Contreras, like all of them in the minors and stuff like that. Bubba was by far the best of bunch that I've seen on there.
Yeah.
What do you think it was with him?
How close him and Skenes are. I think is so much closer than people realize. And people have already kind of put Skenes all the way up here because he's the first overall pick, because, best pitcher since Strasburg, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I get it. So I think some fans have naturally built a wall around him, thinking that he's up here and he's untouchable. But like Bubba Chandler is like right there, and he's right there. And at the end of the season, he started figuring stuff out, and he went out there against a really good Harrisburg team in his only start in AA, and he mowed them down. And that team had multiple top 100 prospects on them, and he just completely dominated them.
At age 20. Like, I mean, he's still super young
20.
too. And I think what's crazy about Chandler is like, he's still got so much more to develop. Like, the dude hasn't been a full-time pitcher. He's been a full-time pitcher for a year, like a year of his entire life. Like, the guy has, I think there's just so much more untapped potential there than people realize. And yeah, like, you look at the overall numbers last year and you look at the ERA and you're like, it's not that great, but you kind of saw something click for him, like that second half of the year. And he was just dominant down the stretch. Like you mentioned, his one start in AA, and yeah, he was excellent there, but down the stretch in Greensboro too, which we've already talked about, is like it's a juice box. Like, it's a very strong offensive environment there. And he dominated down the stretch there. So yeah, I am really excited to see Bubba Chandler this year. I mean, Altoona is probably going to open up with a Chandler Skenes, like Skenes Chandler 1-2 punch. Maybe even Solometo starting in Altoona too. So like that Altoona rotation to start the year could be insane.
Yeah, I've already marked the calendar when they're in Richmond. So yeah,
I'm looking forward to that. So, and then that brings us to the number one pitching prospect on Baseball America's top 100 list, Paul Skenes. And while we're here, Pipeline also released their top 10 right-handed pitching prospects. Paul Skenes comes in at number 1 there. So, yeah, I mean, I like Paul Skenes a lot. I think he's going to be really, really good. I think we could probably make an argument that, would you rather have Wyatt Langford or Dylan Cruz? Because both of those guys are ranked higher than Skenes on the top 100 list. But I'm not going to be nitpicky here. I think Paul Skenes was the best pitcher to ever come into the draft for the last decade or so, and the Pirates got him. So like, I don't think you can necessarily complain here. Yeah, I mean, you watched all of Skenes' starts. We watched all of Skenes' starts. Kind of just give us your overview on Paul Skenes, and what do you think he could be? I think as far as his floor, it's pretty high, but like what type of ceiling are we talking about here?
I think floor wise, it's pretty safe to say that like maybe he's not going to come in and have success immediately, but he's someone you could probably throw in the rotation right now, and he can fill innings for you, like absolutely. As far as upside, I think the upside's probably just about is what everyone's talking about. I mean, he can be the frontline guy that the Pirates hoped he can be. I think he's going to fall maybe a little bit short of all of that. The thing that concerns me about it, and like I don't want to bore everyone with it and just like say, oh, he has a bad fastball shape, and so like fastball shape bad pitcher kind of thing. Mm-hmm. The thing that concerns me is like watching him there, that they've already, and maybe it was just like end of season, go ahead and go out here and let's try it. But like they were already completely revamping what he was throwing. Like they had him almost abandon the four seam completely, and he was throwing like nothing but sinkers the entire time. So it's like, well, that this guy has an issue, and like clearly you're somewhat admitting it by not having him throw the pitch. So we're gonna have it. So this guy's supposed to be the best prospect since like Steven Strasburg, and you're already 6 innings into his professional career, altering what supposedly made him the best pitching prospect in so long. And then you can like watching, like I didn't watch all of his starts at LSU, but you can also make a case that a lot of the sliders and a lot of the strikeouts with the slider, like the command and control is great. It's It's great,
Yep.
and that's what's going to
I
make
agree.
him guaranteed to be a major league starter. But a lot of those strikeouts with the sliders, like, are you going to get a major league hitter to chase that pitch?
Right.
That's going to be the question. And then even like I saw like a highlight package for I think it was like that spring competition or whatever it is, like the breakout with like all the prospects and stuff like that. They showed one of Skenes striking out a hitter with a slider that broke right over the middle of the plate. I'm like, okay, well that worked because he was thrown to a single A pitcher, but is that slider going to get that whiff against a major league hitter?
Yeah.
So is all the stuff going to play if the location and that kind of stuff, or if they're already changing everything to his game, like is that really a guy you wanted with the first overall pick? So
let me ask you this.
I think that kind of speaks to like the Pirates in general. Like it kind of feels like, especially with the last draft, they're gambling on themselves, as in like, okay, these guys have incredible stuff. We're just going to make the final tweaks that they need, and we're going to kind of set them loose to be like unlock all this hidden potential. And I think we've spent like almost the entire show talking about how they not quite being the case so far.
They haven't really been able to do that with anybody.
Yeah.
Right. So is that maybe what makes you, and I'm asking you because again, like you're really high on Bubba Chandler and you're saying like the separation isn't that far. Is that maybe what does it? Because we know like Bubba Chandler has all that talent in the world, right? And what I did want to kind of ask you too a little bit, although you kind of answered it, so maybe we'll stay straight away from that now. But like, do you see the cap on Paul Skenes a little bit because of this? And like, because Bubba Chandler has all the talent in the world, like that's why they're so much closer? Like, or is it just because simply like the Pirates, you're worried about the Pirates tinkering with Skenes? Like what is it exactly that makes Skenes and Chandler maybe here-ish for you and not so much here like everyone else?
I think it's just like the overall stuff with like Chandler and stuff like that plays more into the way the game's been played a little bit more right now. You see, people starting to like throw the fastballs high again and stuff like that. And Chandler with the additional movement on his pitch and stuff like that. If you really wanted to like break it down with like the pitch shape and everything like that, and just the way the secondary stuff has come and the athleticism from Chandler and stuff like that. Just he potentially has 3+ pitches between like with the fastball, which we already can see is heading up that way. I think the changeup maybe is best pitch right now. You could probably make an argument with that. Like whenever I was at his last start in Greensboro, and the arm speed is identical. Like you can't tell the difference coming out of the arm, and then it just like completely drops and fades away from hitters. And then the slider's a little bit more of a work in progress, but you see the potential there with that as well. So it's just, he has potentially 3+ pitches. And then if you're going to say that maybe the fastball, which I get, you can get away with bad fastball shape and movement and stuff like that if you're throwing 98 to 100 on there and you're locating it. So you'll get away with it more than someone like Quinn Priester, who has horrible fastball shape, but he throws 92. So you can't do both. You can have, and I know Jim, you and I talked about like Thomas Harrington on Twitter, how like he can get away with it a little bit more at 92, 93 because he has the movement and the shape and everything like that is really good. Skenes can get away with the lack of shape because of the velocity, but also if he's not locating it on a certain, how pitcher, going out there 30, 35 times over a season, you're not always going to have your best stuff. You're not going to be able to hit your spots and everything like that. And if he can't hit his spots with a flat fastball, I mean, we see Hunter Green out there like get demolished sometimes, and he throws triple digits more than any other pitcher in the game right now. So,
yeah, that's a good point.
That's a really fair point.
So that's the Pirates top 100. Another guy though who was just off the list, and he comes in on Pipeline's top 10 left-handed pitching prospects. He comes in as the number 5 left-handed pitching prospect, Anthony Solometo. They list him here as like kind of the biggest riser from last year, I think is what they called it. Yeah, highest riser. They mention his above average fastball, slider control. Also the fact that he made it to Double-A kind of as quick as he did, and he more than held his own there. So you've watched a lot of Solometo between Greensboro and Altoona last year. He dominated Greensboro, definitely deserved that promotion to Altoona. What has changed for Solometo from 2022 when we had Eric Long and hanging on here, and he was basically like, the dude's a reliever, like don't get excited about him. Now there's probably a reason to be excited about him.
I mean, I think there was always a reason to, and I get what he was saying on there about all of that. I think the biggest question with him is like holding the velocity deeper into the game and deeper into the season. Like last year, or his first year, he kind of wore down a little bit towards the end. He kind of I don't want to say he wasn't ready or anything like that, but I think he prepared a little bit too from some people I talked to on there. He may have like over prepared for the season. So he kind of wore himself down, wasn't really ready for just exactly what a professional season would put the body through. So by the end of the year, I think he was like 88, 89 most of the time while in Bradenton. And then, we saw at the beginning of the year, he was up to like 92, 93, 94. And with his delivery and the deception with the delivery, that 93 looks like 97 coming out of him. So, and then from, like the arm angle and everything creates a little bit extra. And I think, again, just, he topped 100 innings again. So the velo dropped a little bit. So I just think it's all there, kind of in the same way that Chandler is. Like they're different players. Like even comparing the two, I like Solometo a little bit more for like having a little bit of a higher floor. Like I can see him as being kind of a lock to being like a back of the rotation guy kind of thing. And I for as high as I am on Chandler, like I even see like there are some risks to maybe like a bullpen kind of thing.
Right.
But so I think really he comes out, he starts with the velocity and he's able to hold it over the course of an entire season. Like I don't see why he isn't on a top 100 list by the end of the year as well. On there, yeah. I think the changeup needs to come a little bit more. He has to get a little more comfortable with the changeup on there. Sometimes he can become he uses like the two-seamer sinker kind of as his de facto off-speed pitch in a way on there. So like if he gets a little bit more comfortable with the changeup, learns how to pitch a little bit more. I mean, he's the same age as, came out of the same class as Bubba Chandler. So they're all really young. He just had a leg up because like he's always been a pitcher kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's the thing to kind of remember is that these guys are all really young. They're progressing quite nicely. Like they're not even spending full years at levels because of how well they're doing. So it's a much needed thing that the Pirates kind of need right now, or just arms. We can kind of tell just from this starting rotation right now the way it is. They had a wave of starting pitching talent kind of arrive all at one time. And as of right now, it doesn't look like any of them have paid off. Now there's still plenty of time because they're all really young too. So anything could happen with Priester, Ortiz, and Contreras. So like there's still some time there, but it's nice to kind of have like a whole other wave of guys right behind them. Because again, not all these guys are going to hit, but if you can fill out your starting rotation with like 3 controllable arms, and then you go into an off season like this where you're just adding supplemental pieces, it's just a completely different vibe around the entire team. When you go into an off season like this year where you had 2 guys and then one of them gets Tommy John and you're like, oh shit, I've got 1 pitcher. That's when, panic starts. So it's just really important that the Pirates, I think, develop, some of these guys to be reliable starting pitchers.
Yeah.
I want to see something too. Because I think there's definitely a perception, and I mean, well-deserved, right, for many years. But there's a perception of, you're a Pirates prospect, you're going to be in the minors for 28 years, and then you get your call up. That's one thing I think we've been noticing differently recently. So I want to get your take on this because, like, you talk about Solometo, and great example of it. Like the kid's in Double A already, right? And I think we have certainly been seeing some guys, I feel, get fast-tracked. Do you have any perspective on that?
I feel like with some of these pitchers, they are so like there's two different things with the promotions. Like obviously when you're talking about promoting to the majors, there's the whole, service time, whatever and whatnot and everything. But like looking past that, like further down, if the Pirates feel like a kid is ready to move up a level, they haven't been afraid to do it. Like whenever like Solomero was dominating Greensboro, in my head, I'm thinking there's no way that they're going to promote this guy. Like he's 20, he's still, let him work things out. Him being 20 at high A, he's still already ahead of the game. And then they still move him up to Double A. They moved Jared Jones up to Triple A, even when I felt like he still could have had worked some stuff out in Double A. So when it comes to the pitchers, they're not afraid to get aggressive with them, moving them within the system and stuff like that. So they realize the talent that they have, and they're willing to let them go out there and compete and pitch and be challenged. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I mean, Jared Jones, 10 starts in Double A, and then boom, go to Triple A. You're ready, buddy. So
yeah, and like that's certainly a thing. Like the last regime, like you never would have seen that, And as I said, it's definitely warranted. I mean, a 20-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old in Double A just doesn't happen. Like we joke, but Kutch spent parts of 3 seasons in Triple A, and we're talking about Andrew McCutchen, right? So they say like Solomon, like rise up, and a lot of these kids is interesting. I'll say that.
Yeah, I think I like seeing it as someone who wants to push people into the majors as fast as possible. I'm a big fan.
I don't think the Pirates will have a Salas situation, but
yeah,
but I like what they're doing.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because like I think the previous regime, you didn't really see this. This regime, I think the first crack at it that we had was kind of the whole O'Neal Cruz situation, where it was like, come on, guys, like, what are we waiting on? Like, let's go. We've got this guy. He's not getting any younger. We could use him right now. We're starting Kevin Newman every day. Like, so there was that situation that just like drove me crazy. Right. But then there was also like the COVID year kind of messed stuff up too for a lot of people. And like Quinn Priester was somebody, for example, like Quinn Priester, he competed in the 60-man off-site camp in Altoona or whatever. And so he was facing a lot of advanced guys. And then, that was really his first full year of professional baseball, but it wasn't really a full year of professional baseball. So like, I think we didn't really get a good first impression of kind of what this front office wanted to do with prospects and how they wanted to move them and progress them through the system until really just this past year, maybe the year before. I like seeing it. Yeah, like once somebody has demonstrated that they don't have anything else to prove at a level, like bump them up, get them one step closer to the majors, and they seem to have been doing that.
Yeah, I mean, even go back with Termarr. I mean, Termarr had barely 19 whenever they sent him to Greensboro.
Yep. So I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it seems to be like the new wave. Like most orgs are going this route.
And honestly, with pitchers, like their arms are all falling off now anyway. So like just get some major league innings out of them.
Heads are falling off
before all their arms fall off.
Yeah. Well, anything else we want to add and talk and discuss here about the farm?
I'm good.
Oh, I did, because I saw in the comments here.
There we go.
Saw in the comments here. So I do want to bring it up. So, David Matomo. I want to hear more. I want to hear from somebody, and it's lost in the comments now. I'm sorry who asked for it. But we were in the wave of international, so I just want to end it here because this is a very intriguing guy. Kid still, but like he's hitting triple digits now when he wasn't when he signed. So can you offer a little bit of insight on him too?
He's a 17-year-old kid who pitched in the Dominican League. I think I put it in your guys' Discord the other day that like I think the fastball got a little bit blown out of proportion with it. I think when like John reported that he hit 101, people were like thinking that like, oh, he's hitting 101 like constantly, like he's going out there and but really it was more along the lines, oh yeah, he hit 101 in his first game, and that's it. So like the fastball is really good though.
As a 17-year-old kid from Uganda,
a 17-year-old, and when he was signed, apparently he was like 89 to 91, which was still good for a 16, 17-year-old. But then now to see that kind of jump forward, and from the little bit of info I've been able to gather, like people love like the shape and the movement on the pitch. Like someone said that it was getting close to like 20 inches of horizontal break, close to that on some of them. So like the shape and all that's good. The size, like I'd be a little bit concerned, like long term, the size, like he's kind of built a little bit like Jared Jones, and Jared Jones has the reliever kind of risk because of the frame and stuff like that. So, but like at 17, I'm not worried about that. I'm just worried about him logging as many innings as he can. So, I mean, he's definitely someone interesting to watch. Anytime you make your professional debut and you throw 16 innings without giving up a run, like you're going to get noticed. Yeah.
Right.
Am I calling him a top prospect yet? Probably not. No. Like, again, like this falls into probably the axial class and the Alexander Mojica thing. Like if you have a fastball that could reach upper 90s in the Dominican League, you're going to do well for yourself there. But then even if you look at it, he didn't even strike out a batter an inning down there. I think he had like 14 in the 16. So like the fastball is good. He's still learning things, but also if you're hitting 100 on your fastball, you're going to have success in the Dominican League.
Cool. Appreciate that. He's certainly one of those intriguing guys. I'll say that.
Yeah. I would love it if they had, I think it was Andrew Sylvia. They brought him up at like 17, 18 or something like that. He didn't pitch much in the complex league. I think he threw like 10 to 15 innings or something, but maybe not even that much. So they just really kind of watched him. I wouldn't hate them doing something along the lines of that. Just go ahead and get him stateside so you can start working with him. But yeah, outside of that, he's just someone right now. He's someone who threw a fastball really hard. If he comes over, does that stateside, then you can really start taking notice, I would say.
Yeah, I would say like if he comes over, and even if he just throws a few innings like Shim did this past year and has that type of success, then it's like, okay, maybe there's something here. But yeah, for now, just a guy to kind of have in your head that he's there. And yeah, I mean, cool story if he can somehow make it.
Oh yeah, amazing story.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is that it for everyone?
That does it for me.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Anthony, again, appreciate you having on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. That was fun.
Absolutely, man.
And
Absolutely.
if you haven't, again,
go
check out the Substack. Really, really good stuff. Again, emails every day, all kinds of information. Again, if you're talking and looking for prospects, like this is it. So go ahead and do yourself a service and follow along. So
yeah, we'll put
that said, then
we'll put the link and everything in the description. But yeah, can't recommend it enough.
For sure. So appreciate everyone for watching. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
See you all.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucs.